haven't found a sufficient model of an old Earth theory that doesn't incorporate death prior to the fall of Adam and Eve.
Okay, but why would you think that death couldn't happen before Adam and Eve?
Just because Romans 5, it says, therefore just as sin came into the world through one man, and death through sin, and so death spread to all men because
all right,
of sin.
Stop right there. You read it, but you didn't, you read over it. It says death came through one man, death came to all men. It doesn't say death came to all creation. I think sometimes we read over verses, or someone will say, well, what about Romans 5:12? But they haven't interpreted Romans 5:12 properly. It doesn't say death came to all creation. It says death came to all men through Adam, which is true. Romans 5:12 does not prove a young earth.
Yeah.
Romans 5:12 does prove that death came to men through Adam, but there could have been death long before Adam.
Isn't it amazing when two people get up there and both of them are wrong, and one is trying to correct the other one for their wrong, but yet they're still wrong? What am I saying based on that video? Well, based on that video, you have the young earth creationist who wants to say that the earth in itself is only about 6,600 and some odd years old. That means that Adam and Eve were created in around that 4,600 and something BCE. And that the entire earth was created then. Now, young earth creationists also like to say that the earth was created old. Some of them say that it was an old earth creation. But many try to say that what this young man was saying, that nothing died. So anything scientific that comes out that would suggest that people existed 25,000 years ago, that animals existed 25,000 years ago, 10,000 years ago, 8,000 years ago, even 7,000 years ago, they would say that it is wrong. Now, we know that the half-life of a carbon is right around 6,000 years. It's like 5,730 something years is the half-life of a carbon, which, since all animals, mammals, sea creatures, we all are carbon based, that means that the carbon, if you died today and your body is being preserved, and your body is in a situation where it can be preserved, or something like that, where the animals don't eat it and that sort of thing, then the half-life of the carbon inside your body would last on Earth for 5,700 and some odd years. And then after the next 5,700 some odd years, then all the carbon is gone out of your body. That's just carbon dating. This is the only length that I will give carbon dating. I don't give it anything past that. Anytime they say carbon-14 dating and it's measured at 25,000 years ago, no, you can't. I'm sorry. Logically thinking, it doesn't work. But just using that simple methodology, we know that we can see a mummy that's been preserved, or an animal that is fossilized animal and there's still some meat on the bone, so to speak. You can measure the carbon in that and see whether or not it's about 5,000, 6,000, 7,000, 8,000, 9,000 years old, up to about 12,000 years. That's about max. But there are other forms of dating that we also are able to see, that human civilizations existed in South Africa around Adam's calendar. We can see that humans were in North America 25,000 years ago based on the footprint that we found. So we know that life has existed during all that time frame. Now, the problem that the guy who's trying to correct the other guy is saying is that death didn't come to men until it came through Adam. So so animals were dying, plants were dying. So it's fine if we find dead animals, and that would make the earth older. But finding a dead person, not so much. Doesn't work. So man had immortality basically until the sin of Adam and Eve, according to the so-called intelligent guy. Well, that would suggest that anybody who was around during the Adam and Eve time, that Adam and Eve were, the first, he's suggesting that Adam and Eve were the first people, and so that they would have been immortal. And according to the Bible story, they were immortal to a certain degree. They had access to the tree of life, which they would be able to rejuvenate themselves. This is why in your Revelations, the tree of life is in heaven, so that you can rejuvenate your body. Otherwise, why else would it be there? And why else would it say it produces fruit for you with every once a month in season? Oh, your body is going to need the tree of life after, just like Adam needed it then. So he was somewhat immortal, according to this story. The problem is that there were human civilizations that were around before Adam and Eve, that are older than 4,600 BCE. You see, the Sumerians and the Akkadians were around in that time frame and beyond that, or earlier. The people at Göbekli Tepe and Tiran Tepe were around prior to that. The people in Kemet were around. The people in Kush, Sudan, they were around before 4,600 BCE. So how do you explain those people that they were already in existence? And they are not the children of Adam and Eve. If they were the direct children of Adam and Eve, there's no way that their story, they would have been believing in different gods around that time frame, that they would have constructed the buildings that they constructed, and lived in the way they were living, and having river gods and things of that nature. And what about the fact that what would become the Chinese culture was already in place 4,000 BCE, 5,000 BCE? They were already in existence. There were already people in Britannia. There were already people all over the world around 4,600 BCE. So unless you're trying to say that Adam and Eve were a special kind of human, of a special kind of group, which would then suggest that Enlil picked Abram because he still worshiped the old god of El, and that started the new people, and so they created their own history. Or if you were saying that they were the special people that were in the Garden of Eden in Chaldea, which is the Sumerian story. So you tell me what you're going to believe. But here's the facts. People have been around longer than the Adam and Eve story. People have died before the Adam and Eve story. So it's a bunch of bullshit no matter how you slice it. You have to force yourself to digest this and make it your reality, just in order for you to have a belief and a faith, because you're afraid of what happens when you die. That's the real nitty gritty to it. But what do you guys think? Always remember, you have to free yourself to be yourself, because your greatness is non-negotiable. Good journey, good vibrations.